This is Clarence Darrow, taking a stand for science and education. I am Clarence Darrow, but I suppose if you are reading this, you may not know who I am. My name is not much good in the history books, but my actions, the things which I've taken a stand for, should. And even if those great world-changing events are not remembered, the reverberations and consequences of them will leave a lasting effect on my life. My various stands in the courtroom have given America a narrow workday and saved 102 people from the death penalty. But as far as I'm concerned, my greatest stand was when I took a stand at the monkey trial in Tennessee in 1924, when I took a stand for science and education. Now, I do not claim to be presenting an unbiased opinion. If you seek nothing but the facts, I recommend the court transcripts. But I am presenting my views so that it may be preserved for posterity, so that the world, which may forget my name, shall not forget what I did. This is the story of my stand for science and education. Maybe I should start when I first met the great commoner. Never before had I heard someone speak so eloquently as that man, and never before had I heard a crowd cheer as loud as they had for William Jennings Bryan. I agreed with him on women's rights, abolition of the gold standard, and better conditions for workers, so I voted for him. But Bryan lost his campaign once, twice, and 3 times. Then, after briefly being Secretary of State, his political influence waned, and he decided it was time to give up politics and start saving souls. Bryan took to the Chautauqua tent and began traveling across rural America, giving grand and moving speeches on religion, specifically his brand of Christian fundamentalism, which believed in the literal interpretation of the Bible. This was where I began to disagree with him. Don't get me wrong, I think the Bible is a good book, but it is not the only book. Anyway, Bryan's preaching inspired the Tennessee General Assembly to create the Butler Act, which stated that only divine creation could be taught as an explanation to the origin of humanity in Tennessee schools. It unconstitutionally established a state religion. It was teaching our students theories with no evidentiary basis. We have proven evolution to be true. Let us teach our students the facts and inform them that many think differently, if they so choose. The American Civil Liberties Union, which I helped to found, quickly asked for a Tennessee teacher to challenge the law, and they found that teacher in John T. Scopes, a Gray County substitute. Despite being retired, I boarded the next train to Dayton, Tennessee. Oh, and remember old Bryan, the great commoner? He had volunteered for the prosecution. It was so hot that the papers said Dayton had the atmosphere of a blast furnace and dubbed it the trial of the century. What's more, for the first time, a court case would be broadcast live on the radio throughout America. I remember facing the courtroom and saying, "Your Honor, Mr. Bryan has said that this will be a duel to the death between Bible Christianity and infidelity, and that if evolution wins, Christianity goes. Must it though? First, I ask if the two are mutually exclusive, and I believe they aren't. Second, I ask if we will not treat science and fact first, and then that there are other opinions, as we have been doing for years. Your Honor, if our future generations are not taught now that they can think for themselves, decide for themselves, that there are multiple potential explanations to the same question, our society will become stuck and fail to innovate. Scopes is not on trial. Our civilization is on trial." But my monologues would sway no one. I needed an expert. I had invited scientists to come explain the theory of evolution and that it does not prove there is no God. But the judge declared that they could not give testimony. Apparently evolution didn't pertain to the trial. So how else could I get the expert I needed? Well, the courtroom was stunned when I said, "The defense calls William Jennings Bryan to the stand." That is, if the court will permit an expert on the Bible. The judge was against it, but Bryan insisted that he do so that he may destroy me as a witness. Highly unlikely. You've made a considerable study of the Bible, haven't you, Mr. Bryan? You've written and published articles on the Bible almost weekly for 50 years. You believe that everything in the Bible should be interpreted literally? So that when you read the whale swallowed Jonah, you accept that literally? Was that the ordinary run of a whale or made especially for that purpose? I see. It was a miracle. You believe Joshua made the sun stand still? Then you also believe at that time the sun went around the earth. No? Then it must have been the earth he made stand still. You believe the story of the flood? When was the flood? 2,348 BC. And that's according to Bishop Ussher's calculations, and you accept them all right. You believe that every living thing not contained in the ark was destroyed. So that 4,273 years ago, there was not a living thing on earth excepting the people on the ark, the animals on the ark, and the fishes. Any idea who Noah threw the rope to when he docked the ark? When the Bible says the evening and the morning were the first day, does that mean anything to you? Was that a 24-hour day? No. Any idea how long it was? You believe that the sun was made on the fourth day. Then how could you distinguish the morning from the evening of the first 3 days without any sun? Those days could have been billions of years under our calendar. The courtroom was stunned. A few gasps, then silence. It was at that moment for many people that William Jennings Bryan lost his greatness. Does the court remember how Mr. Bryan said that if evolution wins, Christianity must go? Well, there. That is not so. For if the universe was created in 6 days of billions of years, there's no reason that evolution or science would contradict the Bible. Do not mistake my recent questioning of Mr. Bryan as an attack on the Bible. All I mean to say is that the Bible does not need to be interpreted literally at every point. Scopes did not break the law by teaching evolution in schools. He simply explained divine creation in a greater detail that God chose to not address in the Bible. But the jury was still entirely fundamentalist and didn't buy what I said, as genius as it was. Furthermore, Bryan's questioning was expunged from the record, and the Dayton Herald. Jury delivers verdict of guilty in Scope's case. I may have lost the case, but I had exposed the Butler Act, Bryan, and his ideas. In the ears of Americans everywhere listening over the radio, I had won. Besides, I could not appeal the case. And I did. And I won. And though I sympathized for Scopes, I truly attended the trial not for a man. I was taking a stand for an idea. I was taking a stand for science and education. I was taking a stand for our future generations and their right to pursue the truth for themselves. However, as long as the world shall last, there will be wrongs. If no man objected and no man rebelled, those wrongs will last forever. But to our future generations, I've learned one thing in this life. It's to chase after the truth like all hell, and you'll free yourself, even though you never touch its coattails. In 1938, 6 years after publishing his autobiography, Clarence Darrow passed away at his home in Chicago at age 80. Darrow had predicted that the Butler Act would be repealed in a few years. It would be 40. Even after the Scopes trial, states continued to pass laws restricting the teaching of evolution, and one by one, they were repealed over a span of 60 years with the fear that Russia would become more technologically advanced. The fundamentalists continue their attacks on science even to this day. Currently, evolution is required to be taught in public schools throughout the entire U.S. Darrow's hope for the future of our education system is being fulfilled. Public schools teach science and encourage students to exercise rationalism and make decisions for themselves. Clarence Darrow's hope for the future of our education system is blossoming, but this would not have been possible if he had not taken a stand. Thank you.
What do you think his stand would be on that climate change?
On climate change? Well, his stand would definitely be, it's real. And he would also be one who, a lot of the climate change deniers, not all of them, but a lot of them, believe that we don't have to worry about it because God is taking care of the earth. And he would probably point out, he would try and find facts in the Bible that would dispute that, but he would also definitely in the end say that, no, climate change is a problem, we've looked at it scientifically, we've proven it to be an issue, I think we need to help out with this. There's no reason to not try and help.
I'm impressed with your bibliography. What was your best research source? You have many in here.
I do.
Or a couple.
Well, really a three-way tie, kind of. So the first one is his autobiography, which is what I'm supposed to be writing in this play. It was really good for his views. It sort of just speaks for itself almost. A microfilm that I found from 1932 of an interview with Clarence Darrow that I found a few months ago after the regionals competition. And that was nice to that was the only video I could find of Clarence Darrow actually moving and talking at the same time, so that helped to sort of portray him. And the third one is really an amalgamation of sources. It's the Clarence Darrow collection at the University of Minnesota, an online digital collection with a lot of letters, newspapers at the time, court transcripts, things like that.
Now, William Jennings Bryan died very soon after his Phelps trial.
Yes.
Were you able to find any research or documentation about how he felt about the case and his feelings about
Bryan?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Bryan initially, after the questioning, was not scared at all because he, in his mind, had the best closing argument. But Darrow was smart, and he thought that would happen. So he said, "We do not have a closing argument," when the judge asked him for it. And that meant that Bryan could not deliver a closing argument for the prosecution legally. So he didn't actually ever get to deliver that. And that made Bryan quite irritated. He tried in those last few days after the trial before his death to say, no, fundamentalism won. The scientists, the evolutionists can claim it as a victory as much as they want, but the judge, the law has spoken, we have won the case. But he was still deeply irritated by it, because he had lost a good part of his personality, or the way that people viewed his personality.
If you could have found one more source that would have made your performance even better, what source would you have liked to have found?
One thing would be the audio recordings, actually, within the court case during the Scopes trial. I looked for those quite a bit, but it turns out they didn't have any recordings of it. There are some transcripts of different parts of it, maybe not word for word, but of what people can recall from it. But it was never actually recorded as far as I can tell. So that would have been really nice to hear Darrow and Bryan and everyone speaking within the Scopes trial case. That would have been very useful.
What's one thing that you learned about Clarence Darrow that inspired you to leave and stay with you?
Clarence Darrow was someone who did not care if you remembered his name. And what I liked about him is that he didn't care if you remembered him. He would like you to have remembered his actions, but he wanted you to remember the ideal that he stood for. And this is what I like about him. All of his cases that he ever took a stand in, Leopold XI, the Scopes trial, all had this one connection of free thought, rationalism. He believed that we as humans need to use our mind and think for ourselves. We shouldn't just be told this is good. We need to look into that for ourselves. I suppose, put short, what I've learned from Darrow is to always be a skeptic. Never quite 100% accept it.
Any interest in a career in law or theater?
Both, actually.
Exactly, I was thinking the same
Probably a
thing.
bit more on the law side.
Well, that pays better.
And I would say one more thing, if I may, and that's just that I don't agree with everything that Darrow believed in. He sometimes could even be a bit harsh and rude to get his point across, and I, in doing this play, was not the most fair to the fundamentalists, for instance, but part of that is just portraying the role of Darrow. But I just sort of want to make it clear that I'm portraying the role of Darrow. I don't always believe in what he says, but as I had previously said, I think that he does have that one point of us making decisions for ourselves that hopefully we can all agree on.
Well, historical thinking, which is what we as teachers want you to learn, it seems like you're learning very well, is to put yourself in that point in history. And I think you did a wonderful job.
Thank you. I try very much to analyze historical events and not just breeze over them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.